And Russia, I'm
Hello, Imran.
audible.
Yes,
How are
yes.
you?
Yeah, good,
Good
thanks. How
evening
are
to
you?
you. I'm perfect, Alhamdulillah. How are you doing?
Oh, it's good, very good.
Thank you very much for your time. And
Yeah.
before going to formal start, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker. I formally introduce Dr. Nirosha. She was my co-supervisor in my postdoctoral project during my stay in Waikato University, New Zealand. And she is senior lecturer in the School of Accounting, Finance, and Economics, the University of Waikato, New Zealand. Dr. Nirosha is working as a senior lecturer, and her research interests are in the domain of corporate finance. Her main research goal as a researcher is to explore the ways to marginalize firms such as micro, small and medium firms, firm owned by families, ethnic minorities, and refugees, financing their firms and ways to sustain able in long term while contributing the economic development. She has published in leading journals like Business Ethics, Small Business Economics, International Review of Financial Analysis, International Review of Economics and Finance, Journal of Evaluationary Economics, Finance Research Letters, and Strategy and the Environment, Business Strategy and the Environment. Dr. Nirosha was awarded the International Corporate Governance Network Outstanding Scholar Award, Young Researcher Award, Baku World Science Forum, and Early Career Researcher Excellence Award from Modeling and Simulation Society of Australia and New Zealand. Currently, she is principal researcher or investigator for 3 major grants from Accounting Finance Association in Australia and New Zealand. Also, Dr. Nirosha recently received a lottery community sector research grant with researchers from the University of Canterbury and Refugees Orientation Center, New Zealand. Nirosha has served as an external examiner of several master and PhD theses. She has already supervised 6 PhDs and several master students, and she has over. This is the brief introduction of Dr. Nirosha profile, and she is on the editorial board of many top-tier journals. So, Nirosha, now session is over to you. You are co-host, and you can share your screen. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Imran. Thanks for a nice introduction, and thanks for your university for inviting me. And it's very pleasure to be here. And I would like to share my thoughts about what is the corporate governance importance in this pandemic time. So let me share my screen first, and then I'm going to discuss my topic today, and feel free to interrupt me while I'm presenting my ideas, and I would like to engage in quality conversation with you as well. So let me share my screen. Yep. Right. I'll make it bigger now. Can you see my screen, Imran?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yes, please. Please put your slides at full mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, perfect.
Right. So I'll change the grid in the different way. Yeah. So today I'm going to share my thought about the importance of corporate governance in business world. So here, the first part of my discussion, I'm going to discuss what is the corporate governance and what is the corporate governance structure currently exist in the world. And in the second part, I would like to share my ideas about why corporate governance is important in this pandemic and the post-pandemic era. So first, let's look at what is corporate governance, why it is important. So here, the corporate governance is set of rules, regulations, some sort of practices and process by which firm is directed and controlled. So this directions and controls can be differ between the countries. As an example, here New Zealand, our corporate governance sets and rules might be slightly different than the Pakistan corporate governance rules. And it is significantly different than the German corporate governance rules. So the corporate governance rules can be different between the countries, as well as within the country, the corporate governance rules difference between the firms. So as an example, if I take the large listed firm in New Zealand, the set of corporate governance rules and regulations are different than the family firm's corporate governance rules and regulations. So like this, I can give you an example. If I take the CEO duality, most of the family firms in here, New Zealand, CEO duality is existed. But large listed firms, they try to separate CEO and the chairperson roles. So now you can understand the corporate governance, though it's a set of rules and regulation, it can be vary between the countries, and within the countries, it can be changed, differ between the firm and the firm type and the firm size. So now, what is the purpose of having corporate governance, set of corporate governance? So the corporate governance essentially create the balance between stakeholders. You know, when you take the firm, we have different set of stakeholders. We have owners, we have managers, we have the government institution is another part. So corporate governance helps to create the balance between all the parties, right? So then if the firm has good corporate governance, so that means it can balance all the parties' interest. So that's really important, okay? And again, corporate governance improve the accountability of the firm and create the employee satisfaction and achieve long-term sustainability of the firm. So that concept is really important. It's not the short-term profit. Corporate governance ensure long-term corporate sustainability, environmental, social, and the governance sustainability. So as I mentioned earlier, corporate governance can be different between large firms and small firms, but still the corporate governance doing the very important role in all size of firms. So let me give some example. So just think, if company has good rules and regulation, good corporate governance, family owners can't expropriate company profit. Or in other words, I can tell, like, just think about my firm, right? This is my firm, the family firms, and I would like to recruit Imran as a manager. He's my friend. So if my company hasn't really well-defined corporate governance rules, I can give more favor to Imran. I can top up his salary, I can give some private benefits to him. But if there is a proper corporate governance rules and regulation, it's stopped, right? It's a fairly distribute profit among all the workers, all the shareholders. And again, it stopped family recruitment, right? It's always promote to have advertise the company position, held interview, and carry on the recruitment process. So corporate governance is really important to achieve accountability of the firm, achieve profitability, financial stability, and achieve long-term sustainability. All right, so that's why corporate governance is important in corporate world. Right, let's look at the second slides. So let's look at what corporate governance does. Right, I have small diagram in here. So this is the company and this is the shareholders. So just assume I'm the major shareholder in this company, right? So I have my main objectives. So as a shareholder, I invest all my wealth in this business, right? So my main objective is increase my profitability, right? That's a simple and straightforward. As a shareholder, I want to increase my profitability. But just think, I'm in here, New Zealand, but my firm is in Pakistan. So I can't manage my firm from here. Now my firm is big. So I have to recruit some managers. So here I recruit manager, right? So manager has his own objectives. So what is the main objective? The main objective is increase his payment, right? So now, as a shareholder, I try to achieve my profitability objective. At the same time, my manager try to achieve his pay increase objective, right? Now you can see the two groups' objectives are not aligned. They are two different objectives. So what corporate governance does, corporate governance helps to overlap or align these two objectives. So this is my objective, and if company has proper corporate governance, it helps to align shareholders' objectives with managers' objectives. So let's look at like this way. So just assume this year my company earned 1 million profit. As a shareholder, I want to get more profit. So my idea is reinvest all that 1 million in business for research and development, right? I'm not going to give anything to my manager. But my manager's intention is to increase his holiday payment or his extra payment because we got 1 million extra profit. So manager wants to increase the holiday payment, and at the same time, I want to increase reinvestment. So now the conflict can occur, okay? So if there is a proper corporate governance, so it can clearly mention, okay, if the company achieved more profit, only 10% can go as a manager extra payment and rest can go as a reinvestment profit, right? So if we have a clear corporate governance rules, so the conflict cannot be occur because it's clear, it's well written, and the shareholders and managers know what is in the corporate governance code, and the board of directors agree with that code, and without any conflict, we can share our profit even. So this is the main duty of corporate governance. It's try to align shareholders and managers' objectives, right? So when we think about the corporate world, it's not only shareholders and managers' objectives, for all the stakeholders' objectives. So in the corporate world, corporate governance code helps to align all the stakeholders' objectives, right? Okay, so let's look at the main board structures in a corporate governance practices. So in my previous diagram, these diagrams, you can see I'm the owner of this company. I'm living in New Zealand. I have manager in Pakistan. So I would like to have board of directors, right, to manage these managers and communicate, pass information to the shareholders. So most of the countries, they can have board structure. So we have two types of board structure. The first type is single tier board structure. It is common in most of the prior British colonies, right? Like here in New Zealand, we have single tier board. I assume Pakistan has single tier board, Sri Lanka, Malaysia. So most of the countries, we have single tier board system. Yeah, so I just go to Galaxy and I would like to, know his question. How can I give you access? Yeah. Yes, Sujani. So Imran, can you unmute them and join the conversation? Oh yeah, hang on a second. Imran.
Hi, Nirosha. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Yes, I can see some people ask questions. Yes.
Okay, let me put them on mute.
Yeah.
Yes. You want me to unmute the audience?
Yes.
No, we are listening. I'm Tiko Rahman from National Bank of Pakistan.
Actually, I want to unmute at the end once any of the participant has question.
All right. So we
Otherwise,
go ahead.
There will be a lot of interruption.
Yes. All right, Imran. So mute them, then I'll come to discussion after I finish this one. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, you got my point?
Yeah. So can I carry on?
Recording in progress.
Can I carry on?
Yes, please go
right.
ahead.
So just look at this board structure. In a two-tier board structure or dual board is very common in German, Austria, Poland, and some countries. So they have main board, like management board. Top of that, they have supervisory board to supervise this management board. But what we have in here, and as I assume in Pakistan also, we have only one single board, and the we elected board members, and they control or they advise to the company, right? So this is the single tier and the two-tier board differences. Okay. And so let me move to the next one. Yeah, next slide. Right. So now I would like to quickly go through principal agent problem. So you can see in my first diagram, there was a divorce between shareholders and the managers. So due to this separation, there can be conflict or problem can occur because I'm the shareholder and I'm living here. My objectives are different than the managers. So we call that conflict is principal agent conflict. because I'm the shareholder, I'm the principal. My intention or my objectives is not going to align with my agent or manager's objectives. We call it principal agent problem. So this is very common in large listed firms, right? So when it's a large, so you can't manage, owners can't control the firm. They need to appoint managers. So then the separation can occur and the conflict can occur, right? The cost associated with this problem we call as agency cost, principal agency cost. But when you look at most East Asian countries and most of the New Zealand firms as well, they are family firms, right? So the owners always going to be the managers, right? So like this, so the family firms, when they're growing up, they need more investment. So what they can do, they can ask to more shareholders to join. All these shareholders going to control the firm as well. So in that case, we don't have principal agent problems because we don't have any agents. All the shareholders control this firm. But we have majority shareholders and the minority shareholders. In that case, we can face principal agency problem. So that means large shareholder try to expropriate benefit from minority shareholders. So if company has good corporate governance code, we can eliminate or mitigate this principal agent problem and the principal problem. So let's look at the good example for principal agent problem. So everybody knows this man. He's the Tim Cook, the CEO of the Apple, right? And he was an excellent CEO, and so he doubled the company revenue from 100 billion to 200 billion in, I think, 2011. And the same time, he increased the share price by $65. That's quite significant improvement. Despite all these achievements, some shareholders were not very happy about Tim Cook's approach. So then the conflict occurred between the owners or shareholders and the CEO. The main reason was in that time, most of the shareholders want to stop unprofitable investment, but Tim happy to carry on this investment. So this is the typical example in the real world of principal agent problem, right? So then what's the solution? So you can re-recruit or recruit new CEO, right? Is that the solution? No, you need to come up with good rules and regulations to control or minimize the conflict between shareholders and managers. In that place, corporate governance, in that situation, corporate governance play a significant role. Right. So let's look at quickly the benefits of good corporate governance. So the strong corporate governance is very important to achieve effectiveness and the efficiency of the business. So the first thing is good corporate governance builds morale, reputation, and legacy of the business. Especially when it comes to the family business, legacy plays big role after first generation of the business. So if the company has good corporate governance, it helps to build up legacy in the business, right? As I mentioned earlier, otherwise we know most of the family business disappeared after second generation, right? But if it has a good corporate governance regulations or rules or set of corporate governance, then it helps to build morale, reputation, and the legacy. And the next, the most important thing is increased success rate of financial performance. Of course, if there is a good corporate governance, it increases financial performance. And I would like to add something more. It helps to access external financing as well. So just think, if small firm, right, small fish and chip business on the corner of the road, if they go to bank, they can't get bank loan because the accounts are not very transparent and the information asymmetry problem. But if there is a good corporate governance in that firms, they always audit the reports and their recruitments were very clear. They know their cash flow and everything. So if there is a good corporate governance, it helps to maintain financial performance as well as to access new finance as well. So that's important, especially in the COVID time. It's really important to access extra funding. So corporate governance play a big role in that space. The third one is it creates a greater ability to attract and retain talents. Of course, if you treat your employees very well and if you share your dividends among your shareholders or profit sharing, then your employees, shareholders and everybody will retain in the business. That's important, right? And fourth and fifth factors. So the good corporate governance helps to gain more opportunities, especially in this competitive world, and it helps to gives the sustainable development of the firm, and it creates opportunities for more investment, and it's provide a practical way to guide decision making at all levels, right? So these are the sort of benefits of having good corporate governance for the firm. Right, so I just explained what is the corporate governance, why it is important, and what are the benefits of the corporate governance. Let's quickly look at what is the role of corporate governance is in pandemic and the post-pandemic world. You know, corporate governance become really important, especially in the pandemic situation. Especially, in previous global financial crisis period, global corporate governance played big role. So now in a COVID pandemic, corporate governance is playing big role, and we expect in post-pandemic also corporate governance going to play a big role. Because most of the stakeholders now consider environmental, social, and governance aspect of the firm. If the firm has well-written documents about their ESG activities, so we can easily attract new investors in post-COVID world, right? So here, here's how, so here, this is the link. I'm not going to play this link now because I'm going to share this video after link slides with you all. So you can just click this one and listen this video. It's 5 minutes video. So that's explain how corporate managers and the owners value corporate governance in post-pandemic era. Right, so you can listen their practical experience and how corporate governance helps them to work in pandemic era. Right, so the main important thing is in pandemic situation, corporate governance cultivating trust. Right, so trust is most important, became a most important factor in pandemic period. So if the company has good corporate governance, it helps to build trust among their stakeholders, that helps to increase the profitability of the company. Right? In a recent research, if you search in Google, you can see what is the role of trust and the corporate governance play in pandemic world. In recent research, Imran and I found firms with more female owners and the leaders, they can easily get bank and the government fund in pandemic period. So what we think, right, the female directors play a big role in corporate governance atmosphere, and that helps to build the trust among stakeholders, right? So you can look at this link and listen the corporate world view about the corporate governance role in pandemic and the post-pandemic expectation. So I would like to explain the changes in the post-pandemic era. So the one thing is most of the businesses now move to online, right? And here I'm talking to you online, but previously, a few years ago, if you have a guest speaker, they always travel to your location and talk. But now everything moved online. So when it comes to the online, the transparency, data privacy, data security also important. But if firm has a good corporate governance, so that helps to improve the data security and data privacy, supply chain management. And if the business has good corporate governance in this pandemic era, they can easily go to the online and carry on their business. And the other thing is dividends, right? If there is a written rules about the dividends, shareholders know what is their expectation in the pandemic or least profitable situation. Otherwise, all the shareholders asking their portion, right? So the dividends payment also important. But if you have a clear corporate governance, then you can resolve the matters around this dividends payment. Similar to the dividends payment, executive payments. So if there is a clear corporate governance, we can discuss with CEOs about their executive payments in pandemic era. And balancing the needs of stakeholders, because this pandemic era, the stakeholders' requirements are different. It's change, right? You need to look at more in social aspects. So balancing the needs of stakeholders important, right? Because economic landscape is changing. So corporate governance helps to keep this balance between all these stakeholders. And the other thing is board composition, right? So if you need more female directors, you can recruit more female directors, or you can change the duality of the firm. And the impact on society and the environment. So this part is playing big role in these days. Most of the companies try to show off they're doing environmental and societal beneficial things due to after the COVID period to get attention from different investors. So if the company has clear ESG duties, and if it's mentioned in the corporate governance rules and regulations, that's easy to show your investors, okay, this is our ESG code, and we're going to do this and this and this. It helps to build the trust between investors and the company in COVID period. So this is my last slide. This is just a 10 steps to good corporate governance, right? So now we discuss what is the importance of the corporate governance and what is the importance of the corporate governance in the COVID and the post-pandemic era. So now the last thing we need to look at how we can achieve best corporate governance. There are 10 most common steps. The first one is ensure a suitable board, right? So we have to recruit the best board, like without any political connections, right? So sometimes they try to recruit their own people in the board. No, we need to recruit the suitable board. And the next one is review the board regularly, right? So sometimes you feel, okay, we need to recruit more female in this board. Then you can recruit more female and increase the percentage of the female directors, or you can increase more directors with master's qualifications, right? So time to time you need to review the board. So that's another important step to achieve good corporate governance. And so we have another 10 steps. The other one is ensure reporting integrity, right? The 6th one is ensure reporting integrity. Always we need to go for external auditing and check the reporting, right? And again, emphasize integrity as a whole, not only financial reporting. You have to ensure integrity as a whole, environmental reporting and social reporting, all the reporting factors, right? And treat stakeholders equitably, right? That's really important factor. And ensure adequate disclosure. So if there is, if it's requirement for more disclosure, you can include it. Like as an example, you can include waste disclosure as a new environmental regulation for your company, all right? So if the company can follow all these 10 steps, they can achieve good corporate governance code, right? So as a concluding, the corporate governance is set of rules and regulation which help to achieve the balance between all the stakeholders, and it helps to achieve company short-term profitability and long-term sustainability. Right. So, right, I've done and I moved. So I think I pass it to Imran now. Imran?
Hi, Nirosha.
Yeah.
Hi, Nirosha. I'm audible?
Yes, yes. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you very much for this wonderful lecture.
Oh, thanks.
And if any of the audience has questions, they may raise their hand. Then I'll unmute. Yes, Tukir, you have to unmute yourself. Yes, ask your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. I have a question. You have suggested 10 ways to control or overcome the conflict between manager and owner. I want to, you can give me any suggestion, references, or is it your own opinion?
Oh, no. Takir, thanks for this question. And this is the principal and agent problem is the very common problem. And if you take the finance literacy, you can see it's first time it's cited in 1976, Jensen, I think. Yeah, Jensen et al. And he found it in the US firms, right? Because it's if there is a separation between owners and the managers, conflict can occur. Right, that's the well-developed principal agent theory in finance, and it's first time cited in Jensen in 1976, if I can recall correctly. And later on, when it comes to 1990s, right, 1991 or 1992, the people realized that is not always the case in Eastern Europe or Eastern Asian countries, especially in China. Classons, I think in late 90s, I think Classons found there is no principal agent problem in most of the owner managers firm or small firms. The problem is on these firms are principal. So this is not my own opinion. This is the literature actually. Takir, did I answer your question? Okay.
For your detailed answer. Now we have another participant, Mir Dost. Mir Dost, you can unmute yourself.
Madam, you said about principal agent problem in first slide that managers can be paid in terms of money. Either agency problem can be eliminated by equity incentive plan by issuing shares rather than cash or not. Means
yes.
Principal agent problem can be eliminated by equity incentive plans.
Yes, Mayor, that's true, right? If we can provide the equity incentive plan, we can, right? But the most of the time, firms not happy to give the equities because that's my firm. If I give you the equity incentives, so my ownership going to in a problem because I don't want to give my equity, right? So that's the one thing, but I agreed with you. Equity incentives help to reduce the principal agent problem. Yeah, that's the one sort of solution for that. Yes. Right, Ahmed. So I think we can move to the next one.
Thank you. The next one is Atikur Rahman.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. My name is Atikur Rahman. I am from National Bank of Pakistan. Sir Imran, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to raise a question. My question is regarding the compliance program and risk management. Both compliance and risk management are quite necessary for the very fine or sophisticated corporate governance.
Yes, of course. The risk management is one of the benefit of the corporate governance because like if the firm has a good corporate governance, it's if you take the cash flow, right? If the firm has good corporate governance, so that's manage the cash flow properly, right? So that's gives us the continuous cash flow. Company can produce, go for their production, and company risk can be reduced. So that's the bankruptcy risk can be reduced. So risk management is one of the main benefit of corporate governance.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Atik.
Yes, the next is, hi Pearl, I'm audible?
Yes. Hello.
Thank you to have you with us. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. And thanks for Nilosha for sharing the interesting presentation. I'm very pleased to attend this. Yeah. And thanks for Ahmed for organizing this activity. So I just have a quick, like a short question about corporate governance. So I found that many papers, they focus on the impact of corporate governance on firm performance. And recently I found that as a global warming problem increase, so they pay more attention to environmental performance. And then I just want to ask Nilocha, is there any impact of corporate governance on the environmental performance? So how is relating to the ESG, except it help to increase accountability, something like that. So what's the impact of corporate governance on the environmental performance, such as maybe the waste reductions or carbon dioxide reduction, something like that? Yeah.
Yes, Florian, good to hear from you. And yes, so the thing is, the corporate governance, if there is a good corporate governance, what our expectation is that helps to increase the environmental performance. And when you look at the finance literature, you can see in a recent research, they've done some research about the board structure or board composition and the environmental performance of the firm level, right? So in there, they found if they have more female directors, they are more inclined into environmental activities and waste recycle. And I think recently I noticed that the one article from Benjamin et al. So what they have done, they've done the corporate governance structure and the waste recycling. So they found some certain factors like CEO pay is directly related with the waste recycle activities, and CEO, I think the other one is CEO education level. I'm not sure exactly, but some CEO characteristic also impact for waste recycling program. Yes, if there is a direct relationship between corporate governance and the environmental activities and the environmental performance of the firm. So that's impact for climate activities. If we take further, you can see corporate governance impact for kind of a green financing thing. So these green financing activities, on the other way around, green financing activities promote firm level green activities.
Thanks, Nirisha, for detailed answer. Paul, you have any other question? Okay, we move to next speaker. He is, I think, Gulsher Ali. Gulsher, you may ask questions.
I have one question, that how company can you?
I can't hear, like actually he's mute. I heard just only how company, yeah.
Yes, he can ask again. Gulsher?
He's mute actually. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question, that how company evaluates the board effectiveness?
How company evaluate the board effectiveness? I think that's a question. Yes, so the effectiveness depend on the firm, right? So as an example, some firms, right, they need highly specified like board. So just think, I'm going to talking about the highly technical firm, right? So in that firm, if they recruit people with more engineering degree, right, as a board members, that's impact for the company positively, right? So we can tell in that case, the education qualification increase the effectiveness, like the board effectiveness is increased, right? But just think, there are some companies like doing food, right? They don't need technical staff much, right? So in that case, if someone recruit people with more engineering degree in board, that's not effect for the company's profitability. So in that case, education doesn't matter, right? So the board effectiveness is depend on the firm. But basically in financially, we measure by the profitability. If we have more female directors, if that helps to increase the profitability, so that's board is effective. And if we reduce those female numbers, from 50%. So if the profit decrease, so now we can tell, okay, that board is not effective. So we need to have more female directors, right? It's depend on the firm. The board effectiveness also depend on the firm.
Thank you, Rosha. I think we have two more audience. They have question. Imtiaz Ahmed, you there, please?
Yes, sir, sure. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, the question is that what's the board role in corporate governance and how does that differ from management's rules, and how can the boards influence the corporate risk cultures?
Is the second part, I'm going to answer the second part first. So how board influence the company risk culture? Of course, some decisions, like as an example, some investment decisions always can't approved by managers. It needs to go, if the big investment, it needs to go to the board, right? So if the board approved it, then the company can carry on that investment. So if the board feel that investment is more risky and it's not generate cash flow within next 5 years time, so then board can stop investing that kind of projects. So now you can see how board impact for the company risk culture. And again, when the company going to get a big, like significant amount of bank loan or significant amount of issuing equity, right? In that case, the managers can't do it by themselves. They need to consult board, and the board need to decide whether that process is going on or stop based on the company risk-taking ability. So that's the second part, but I missed the first part actually.
I think he has done. We have the last participant and question. Muhammad Amir, can you unmute your mobile, please?
Thank you so much, ma'am. My question is, what is the major issue in corporate governance? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mohammed. Right, there are these days the major issue, the corporate governance. We can't use the existing corporate governance code or process in this pandemic era. That's the major issue, all right? Because the business culture is changed now. We are not meeting face to face now. We are meeting online. So now we need to think about the ethics, right? So it's easily, you can take my information and can spread among the internet. So this now we are working in this like completely new environment. So the existing corporate governance code can't use or can't use in this current situations. That's the major problem. So now it's time to talk about this existing corporate governance code and need to think about how this code needs to tweak to satisfy today's business environment. So when you look at the World Economic Forum and World Bank, they're now taking this existing corporate governance code and they start some kind of conversation with like corporates and the policymakers, how we can change or tweak the existing corporate governance to cater this current business situation. Yeah.
Nirosha, thank you very much. It was a wonderful session.
Oh, thanks,
and,
Imran.
we are honored to have you in our as a guest lecturer.
Thanks.
And it's nice to see you after a long time. Yep.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
Paul was there, and I think Sijani also joined us in the session.
Okay.
There is one participant, if you want to answer, we can, if you allow, we can take his or her question.
Yeah, I'm fine, yes.
Yes, there is Bilal Ahmed. Go ahead, please. Bilal, unmute yourself. I think he forget to unmute. Okay, we conclude our session, Nirosha, here.
Yeah.
I think now he is unmuted. Yes, Bilal, you may ask question, please.
Yes, sir. My question is that what is the board composition effect on firm performance in developed countries and also developing countries, and why not developing countries adopt board composition?
Actually, Bilal, like here, the New Zealand, we have the certain board composition, and the Pakistan, we have the certain board composition. But sometimes the board composition and firm performance depend on the institutional environment. So if we take that small equation, this is the board composition and this is the firm performance, we can put an arrow between these two, but institutional environment plays very big role in this relationship. That's mediate this relationship. So if the corruption, political connections, and the legal requirements, rules, and everything mediate this trade relationship. So that in that case, so we can't have like same relationship between the board composition and the firm performance in developed countries and developing countries. And again, the culture plays big role as well. So when we take the Norwegian countries, right, you know, in the Norwegian legislation is there needs to have at least 1/3 of female directors in the board. But in New Zealand, we don't have that kind of requirement because what we understood, the female are not, they are efficient, but they're not significantly the impact for firm performance as much as they do in Norway. And Pakistan, maybe they have the different situation. So always we can't expect the straight line relationship, and we can't kind of imitate the same relationship in developed countries and the developing countries.
Thank you, Nirosha. I think we were allowed to take the Sujani question. She is here.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, Sujani.
Hi,
Thank
Sujani,
you.
my friend. How are you doing?
Hi, Imran. Thank you for giving this opportunity to join this session. Actually, this is very nice presentation. I don't have actually any questions. I just wanted to make a comment. Nirosha, thank you very much. This is a very helpful and very informative discussion, and most recent updates you have discussed, like post-COVID situation and what the corporate boards has to do at this situation, and the corporate guidelines, how it should change. So this is really nice, and nice to see your daughter as well. Thank you, Imran.
Thanks, Sujani. Thanks for your compliment.
Thank you very much, Nirosha, on behalf of Department of Business Administration and MBA 7th class. Love to thank you, and it was a wonderful session, and there is a lot of learning in this session, and hope we'll be having a few more sessions in next semester. Thank you very much, Nilusha, for your time.
Yes, thanks, Imran. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. And I
And
would
love
like
to
to
baby.
thank, yeah,
Hi,
thanks
baby, how are you?
all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks, Alibit.